Okay, YouTube, it's February 1st, a little bit after 3. We're finishing up the repairs on the inner fender well. Pouring down rain outside, you guys might be able to hear it. It's 55 out there, 71 in here. Okay, YouTube, here is the fit of the patch here. This last patch we've got to do. I've pretty much got the welder turned up pretty high for this 16 gauge. I'm a little hotter with a little faster wire speed. It caught up with me on this one because I burned through pretty bad. That's actually a hole there, so I'll have to fix that. Getting ready to do my plug weld here, and once I get that done, I'll do a grind on these and come back in and start filling them in. That's where we're at. I gotta check the back side of it. I went around and just spotted it in ever so often, and then when I got them pretty close, I come back in and stitched them in, and you can see about each places that I did the stitches with the I think they call that the has, but heat affected zone, I believe is what that stands for. But anyway, I'm getting ready to grind it down, and we'll see how she turns out. I'll bring you back. Okay, there's the patch. I think it turned out really nice, and I was actually cleaning up and getting some of this area here ready for epoxy, and I uncovered a little spot right in here, and it looked like just the indention of a spot weld. It was actually really small, and got to looking at it, and it was actually a rust hole. So I got to working on fixing that and everything, and it really gave me a time. And what I wound up doing was just taking a drill, drilling a hole in it, and then taking the speed blaster and blasting it real good, and then I wound up plug welding it. I actually did 2 spots like that, and I believe I've got it. It's probably the best I'm going to be able to get it. I can live with what I got there, but then I turned the light out, and I was putting flashlight back in here, just seeing if I could see anything. And let me show you what we got. See those? I was like, I wasn't even welding up there. Down here's where I was welding. There's some little pinholes right in here. Very small. So that'll need to be addressed as well. Yeah, I got to thinking about this inner fender, and this thing was junk. You guys might recall all that work we did up in there, and all of this area here, and then of course we put this patch in here. Every bit of this was rusted out, and I can only guess that that's why all of this is rusted out down here too. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, the car's solid, but it's just these little places here and there. And I'm pretty sure I blasted all this edge when I blasted the frame rails. I'm going to go back and look at the pictures. I know I put a patch here, and I mean, there's probably been, we're going on probably seven or eight patches in this one inner fender. If I'd have known all that, we'd have replaced it. But I think we're about done, hopefully, with it. So, like I said, we'll do this little place here, and we'll put some epoxy over this, and we'll move on to something else. Okay, guys, I took a drill bit and kind of drilled through some of those pinholes, and that one there in the middle was pretty soft. It was a lot bigger than it actually looked. But I believe we're down to good solid thick metal there, and we're going to attempt to weld it up. Right there is what the inside of the car looks like, where those holes are. We're going to try to weld them. Okay, YouTube, no more holes. I've checked it in the dark. Everything looks okay. So we're going to go ahead and do a little sanding. And a lot of this over here is epoxy. This really ain't up here. This is that factory primer. And what I'm going to do there is I'm going to sand it down some and probably just put a little epoxy right up into there. But eventually, once I remove this quarter, figure out whether or not I need to replace this wheelhouse, then I'll probably paint the whole thing at that time with epoxy. But for now, I'm just going to put some epoxy on this bare metal, keep everything from rusting. Got one place down here, and I believe it's the same old song and dance with the rest of this car. I've looked at the replacement panels, and it's all one piece there. And I went over there and looked at my other project, the 81, and it's the same. So I believe somebody just scabbed something in there. The back side of this turned out real nice. Like I said, I got to feather it out in 180. And I did go ahead, and where I was welding, I went ahead and spot blasted all that right in there. I want to make sure I get some epoxy down in there as well. Okay, guys, curiosity's got the best of me. I'm about 99% sure that's not factory. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of investigation, see what we can find. Okay, YouTube, it is exactly what we thought. It is just a bunch of rust covered up with another piece of metal, just like the rest of the car. So I'm glad we got it removed. I'm not going to go ahead and repair it just yet, because still not sure if this whole wheelhouse is going to need to be replaced. We won't know until we get the quarter off the car. We can't do that until we get the door on the car and get a gap set so we got a reference. The wheelhouse looks like it's good. I'm still not 100% sure it's not going to show us something ugly when we get to stripping the rest of it. But we're going to go ahead and prep the areas that we've repaired and put some epoxy on them. The rest of it looks pretty solid. I mean, and most of that rust is down low anyway. I do believe it was, like I said, it was up high there where we had all those holes. And I believe a lot of that's from holes in the top of the window channel and holes all the way down here at the bottom where the deck filler was. So, but let's take a look and see what we got. There it is, guys. It is a mess. Just rust. Sitting there eating. So our wheelhouse here, all this looks good now. And this is our patch that we put in here. So everything's good, even all the way down to here. So even if we do replace this wheelhouse, we'll just be coming right into this area. So it did have a weld right there. I'm gonna leave all that because seam sealer is gonna come right down in over all this. I'm not exactly sure if we replace this wheelhouse, if we'll replace all of it, or if we'll just replace part of it. So, but that's what we got going on. I'm gonna get to cleaning up. I got a mess again. I'm gonna clean it all up and then we're gonna start prepping this panel for some epoxy. I'll bring you back. And we've got the bare metal cleaned and pretty much got it all taped up. And like I said, we're just gonna spot it in on those bare metal areas. And this is just to protect the repairs from rust, because once we finalize everything, we'll scuff everything, and that whole inner fender well will get a couple coats of epoxy. We'll probably wind up removing a lot of that factory coating that's already in there, but we'll know exactly where the epoxy is, so we won't have to do that again where we're doing it now. It'll just be sanded with 180 and we'll put another couple coats over it. So I've got 50 milliliters mixed up here, which is just a little less than 2 ounces, which is probably way more than we need. And we're going to be using the little Conqueror's detail gun. I was going to get rid of this gun, but it's actually perfect for what we're doing here. So I'm going to hang on to it and use it just for these type of touch-ups. Okay guys, here it is. Got 2 coats of epoxy on. It's got a little dirt in it, which I knew that was going to happen just because of all this mess that's in here. And like I said, this is not the final product here. This is just pretty much rust prevention during this phase of the project. Real happy with the way it turned out. Not too happy about finding the damage on the outer wheelhouse, but we just know that that's part of this car. So we've uncovered it before, and I'm sure there'll be a few more surprises along the way. But I've got one little, it's not a pinhole, but it's just a low spot in the metal. I don't know if the camera right there. So probably what I'll do is tomorrow after work, I'll come back in here and put just a little fiberglass on that, fiberglass filler over the epoxy. This is SPI's red epoxy primer. And usually, this is straight out of the can here. Usually I do add a little bit of their black to it to give it a more of a GM look. While I've got the filler mixed up, I'll also go ahead and put a little bit of it on some of those hammer marks. They're still a little visible there. And right in there. But like I said, I'm real happy with that repair. And this inside part where we did that welding, it turned out good too. And you can see the difference when I was talking about the red. The darker color is where I've added a little bit of the black to the red to get more of a GM color. You can see like down here, that's the original red oxide that was on the car. And that's the darker red is way I've tried to match it. You can see it underneath the black there. That's all the original red oxide that these cars were dipped in. That's all I got, guys. That'll finish up this little segment of the inner wheelhouse repair. And I just want to say I appreciate all my subscribers and everybody following the channel and all the comments. And I'm going to decide what we're going to get into next. And I'll be back with another update. We'll talk to you later.